Hey everyone, before the video begins, I just want to mention that I've got a new channel that might interest you called Unfortunate Ends, which is about people who met their end in a tragic or unfortunate way. If you could check it out, it'd mean a lot to me, and down below in the description and in the comments there is a link to the channel. Thanks. Mari Barbola was a dwarf from Central Europe, who almost certainly suffered from achondroplasia, and who in the mid-17th century became a prominent figure at the court of King Philip IV of Spain. Barbola's primary historical interest lies in her conspicuous depiction in Las Meninas, or The Ladies in Waiting. This highly important work by the leading painter of the Spanish Golden Age, Diego Velázquez, was produced in 1656. This is Barbola's story, and her place in the painting Las Meninas. Mari Barbola, or Maria Barbola as Queen, was a court official in Spain during the second half of the 17th century. She was, however, originally born sometime around 1630 in Germany, in the lands of the Holy Roman Empire, overseen at that time by the Austrian royal house of Habsburg. Barbola was most likely born with achondroplasia, a genetic disorder, the primary feature of which is dwarfism. Achondroplastic dwarfs usually possess a normal-sized torso, with disproportionately smaller arms and legs. As a result, Barbola grew to only be about 4 foot in height, which is the average height for females with this genetic disorder. Many achondroplastic dwarfs suffer from health complications early in life, which can often result in death, but this was not the case with Marie, as she would, by all accounts, live to approximately 70 years of age or more, a longer than average lifespan for any individual during the 17th century. It is possible that Barbola was not her actual surname. The name Barbola derives from the ancient Greek for barbaros, meaning foreign, brutal or ignorant, from which the modern word barbarian is derived. It is possible that Marie was given this as a surname owing to her dwarfism, a cruel jibe towards her which was typical of the age and its limited understanding of the scientific reasons for dwarfism. Maria ended up in Spain as a result of the close ties between the respective European courts at Vienna and Madrid. The courts of Austria and Spain were intimately connected in early modern times, both states having been ruled by the House of Habsburg since the early 16th century, though different family members ruled Spain from Madrid and Austria from Vienna, following the abdication of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V in the late 1550s. Barbola's move to the Spanish court was tied into these links between the Austrians and the Spanish. In 1649, when she was just 14 years of age, Maria Anna, the daughter of the Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand III, was married to Philip IV of Spain, the King of Spain himself since 1621, and shockingly, 30 years older than Maria Anna. Barbola was soon employed at the Spanish court in the household of the new Spanish queen. She was there by 1651 and was in receipt of various favours and rewards in the years that followed. One of the most curious of these was the bestowal of a gift of 1 pound of snow on each summer's day, a grant which was made to Barbola in 1658. Prior to refrigeration, snow was a luxury commodity, particularly in the warm summer heat of Spain, one which had to be made using new scientific techniques and which was then employed in the making of sorbets and to cool drinks in the Mediterranean heat. As such, the grant of this to Barbola, though seemingly trivial, is indicative of her enjoying a certain status within Maria Anna's household. Barbola's presence at the court of the Spanish king and queen was not unusual during early modern times. From London to Madrid and Paris to Vienna, the main royal courts of the 16th and 17th centuries featured dwarfs, who were employed as oddities thereof, in the same manner as extremely tall individuals who were regaled as giants at Europe's court at the time. Indeed, at one point, during Barbola's years of service in Madrid, there were over 100 dwarfs hired, in one capacity or another, at the Spanish royal court, and Philip IV was said to have a particular affinity for dwarfs, a fact which may explain Velázquez's rendering of Marie in Las Meninas. long before any systematic writing appeared about dwarfs, they were being depicted in the artwork of the times, notably as a feature of garden sculptures from the early 16th century onwards. Probably the best known representation of dwarfs in the Western world are religious paintings and group and individual portraits of court dwarfs that proliferated throughout Europe from the 15th to the early 18th century. In such paintings, it is very common to find the dwarf represented as holding a dog, monkey, or other animal on a lead. Indeed, the care of animals was frequently their role in cultures as early as ancient Egypt, and throughout the centuries of their prominence in the courts. Such paintings often began to offer a more realistic portrayal of dwarfs in the 17th century. And there is no finer example of this than Velázquez's Las Meninas. The painting known as Las Meninas, or The Ladies in Waiting in English, was painted in 1656 by the leading painter of the Spanish Golden Age, Diego Velázquez. This was a highly significant period in Spain's cultural history, encapsulating much of the 16th and 17th centuries, and Velázquez was its greatest figure. In his work, the Baroque style reached its pinnacle in Spain, and he painted in a particularly tenebrist or dramatic illumination style, which has influenced many painters such as Francis Bacon down to the 20th century. The painting, which hangs today in the Museo del Prado in Madrid, depicts one of the main chambers in the Alcázar Palace in the Spanish capital, which had largely been developed in the late 16th century under the rule of Philip II. The painting is effectively a rendering of an everyday occurrence in the palace. There are several people depicted in the painting, some of them interacting with each other, and others staring out at the viewer. Additionally, several further figures are presented in a series of mirrors and other backdrops. For instance, the king and queen are represented in a mirror at the back of the chamber, peering directly out of the painting. The central character is the 5-year-old Infanta Margaret Theresa, the daughter of Philip IV and Maria Anna of Austria, while several maids wait on her. It is from this particular aspect of the painting which its title is derived, though there is much more to it than this, and many art critics have suggested that Las Meninas constitutes one of the most important works of early modern painting. Interestingly, Velázquez depicts himself in his own work here, again peering directly at the viewer of the painting, a self-conscious expression of the centrality of the painter to the early modern court. Along with Velázquez, Barbola is the main figure who is actually present in the room and is staring directly out of the painting. Velázquez has rightly been praised for his sensitive rendering of Barbola and a second dwarf in the picture. This is Nicolásito Pertusato, who stands to Barbola's left, resting his foot on a large dog, though Pertusato is depicted in a far less striking fashion than Barbola. In Las Meninas, there is a sharp contrast between the depiction of the royal formality involving the Infanta and her maids of honour, and the manner in which Barbola looks out at the viewer with a highly independent gaze. It is a strong look. Velázquez was not conforming to any early modern stereotypes, which sought to represent dwarfs as somehow primitive, or any less intelligent than their taller fellow human beings. In this sense, Velázquez essentially treated Marie with a degree of respect in how he rendered her. Overall, Velázquez depicts Barbola in a highly unusual manner for a dwarf during the 17th century. Often, people with dwarfism were treated with disdain in early modern society, but not so in Las Meninas. Barbola is painted in a highly respectful fashion, and Velázquez was eager to highlight her intelligence. Sadly, not very much is known about Mari Barbola's later life. Towards the end of the 17th century, the royal courts of Europe were being remodelled and reformed. Part of this process involved the gradual phasing out of the offices, such as those of the court dwarfs, giants, fools, exotic animals, and a number of other things which had been considered acceptable during the 16th and 17th centuries, but which were increasingly viewed as reproachable as a scientific revolution and the Enlightenment spread throughout the continent and led to a greater understanding of cultural tolerance. As a result, Barbola found herself leaving her long employment at the Habsburg court in Madrid. She is suspected to have returned to her native Germany or Austria as a consequence, where she almost certainly died in the early 18th century, though having fallen out of official records. However, her time in the household of Philip IV and Maria Anna is still vividly attested to in Velázquez's Las Meninas, one of the most striking depictions of an early modern European court to have come down to us. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video on Mari Barbola. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave me a like and a comment down below. If you're new, why not subscribe? Please make sure to have notifications turned on so you get all my videos as soon as they're uploaded. And if you have any suggestions, you can put them in the comments, or you can find links to my Instagram and email in the description, which lets me see the suggestions much easier. Anyway, that's all from me, so I'll see all of you in the next Forgotten Life. Thanks!